G'day everyone, welcome back to the Don't Bowl There podcast. I'm Nick, joined with me Aaron and Braden. Got a pretty special episode today, don't we?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Can't wait. Been hyping myself up all week for it. I'm really keen, Aaron.
Yeah, so we've got our special guest, Shane Lee. Shane, how are you going?
Thanks, boys. Very well, thank you. Good to be on the show.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks
really
for
appreciate
coming.
it.
So, basically, Shane, you've played cricket for Australia, including winning a World Cup. You've played cricket for New South Wales. You've formed a band called Six and Out, and you have your own very successful podcast called Lunch with Lee. So it's quite the resume.
Well, thanks, boys. Yeah, it's been a good. We've had some good times in the past, boys. Yeah, particularly playing for New South Wales and Australia were amazing times, and playing with brother Brett too, which was, I think we did that on 18 occasions. So that was good fun, and then we decided, sport wasn't enough, so we needed a bit of rock and roll, and we formed Six and Out. So we got the Chinese Mick Jagger, Richard Cheekwee to front the band, and Gavin Robertson. We have had a really good time, and and then recently started my own podcast called Lunch with Lee, which is interviewing celebrities across sport, music, and business. That's sort of the three things I've been across in my life, which has been really good fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. With the podcast, obviously with us, we're just starting out. How did you go about starting your podcast? And any sort of advice that you've got for people like us who are just starting to kind of kickstart and that kind of thing?
Well, I think you guys said you've done 6 shows so far. I've only done 10, so I don't know if I've got too much advice to give you guys. There's only 4 more, but look, I think like anything, it's just putting a peg in the ground and starting. Get out there, do your research. But the main thing is just be yourselves and enjoy and try and ask questions that people want to obviously hear. I think that'll be the best way to go about things.
Yeah, well, I had a quick look at your website before we started, Shane, and I saw that you have a passion for men's health and supporting various charities. Just tell us a bit about that and how you got involved with it all.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, one of the things I've found, so I'm 46 now, one of the things I've found since I turned 40, I'm finding a lot of my mates are going through a lot of issues from some divorce, some mental health stuff, right down to Gavin Robertson, who's the drummer in our band, currently was diagnosed with brain cancer last year. So some really, really tough things. And I think guys, particularly I'm a bit older than you guys, but as men, we don't really talk about this stuff. We sort of bury our head in the sand and she'll be right, mate, is sort of the attitude. So the whole idea was on the show, not only to talk about sport, music and business, the sort of 3 things I love, but just to talk about some stuff that guys don't generally chat about. We're not trying to save the world or find cures ourselves, but I think just talking about these things can really help a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. So we mentioned earlier how you played a lot of one-day cricket for Australia as well as winning a World Cup. What was the feeling around the 1999 World Cup that you were part of the squad in, and are you able to sort of elaborate on the celebrations afterwards?
Oh, mate, yeah, you've been talking to your dad, have you? Look, it was a good time. I was fortunate enough to be part of 2 World Cup campaigns. The first one was in 1996 when we lost, unfortunately, to Sri Lanka in the final. That saw a whole change in the Australian team, and we brought in some real sort of a one-day focus then. But then 1999, it was amazing. We had the whole series where Shane Warne was caught in his underwear at one stage with some girls, and then his Playboy undies, and so he was down. He was about to leave the whole campaign, and we turned him around, and there was 2 famous games against South Africa where it came down to the last ball and they were tied, and then we go on to beat Pakistan in the final. It was amazing times and sitting at the home of cricket. I didn't play in the final myself, unfortunately. I was 12th man. I think Brennan Julie and Damien Martin were 13th and 14th man. But you go in the change room, you just won a World Cup, and I remember Bob Hawke being absolutely hammered in the long room. Just well done, boys, we're beating these packies, and then Mick Jagger came in with Charlie Watts from the Rolling Stones, and it was a really amazing time. We pretty much culminated in going out into the middle of Lords, and Ricky Ponty used to lead the team song at that stage, and I get goosebumps when I tell this story, but I remember we were totally hammered after celebrating for probably about 6 hours. It was pitch black, and we were in the middle of Lords, and Ricky Ponting was on Tom Moody's shoulders, and he did the team song, which singing under the Southern Cross I stand, and we did the team song there. It was really, really good memories. Good fun, and continued on into all hours.
That's unreal.
How was playing at Lords, a World Cup final at Lords?
Oh, mate, it's special. It's a home of cricket. It's like anything. I think, if you're an AFL footballer, you want to play in a grand final at the MCG in front of 100,000. As a cricketer, you want to play. You want to play at Lords. It's a funny sort of ground. You walk through the sort of long room where the members are there, and they're baking their ties, and if you walk out the back, they go, "Good luck, son. We'll see you in a minute," and that sort of stuff. And should I say, "Fuck off, mate"? But it's a really, really good experience, and old tradition, and the ground sort of slopes. I think it's about 8 foot from one side to the other. So it's quite a
ridiculous,
significant slope. Yeah, but yeah, it's really great, and you treat it like a rock star too when you play in England with the cricket, and you end up sort of mixing with as I said, rock stars and personalities and politicians, and it's a really, really good experience. You'll never forget. A lot of can't tell you about either.
Yeah, following on from that, so you mentioned before that you played like on a fair few occasions with your brother. What was that like, and how did it feel to be able to represent your country with your brother?
It was amazing. There was sort of 3 distinct memories I have from my career. My first one was walking out in the green and gold for the first time at Adelaide Oval. I remember walking out right behind Craig McDermott, and the crowd was just buzzing, and you can hear everything. You think, "Geez, I've made it here." That was a distinct moment. The 99 World Cup that we just spoke about, and the other times were walking out with my brother. As I said, we played 18 games together. I don't think we lost a game that we played together, which is pretty cool.
That's a great record.
It was amazing. For two guys from the south coast of Sydney, it was a really, really good feeling. And Brett went on to play a few more than me, but it was really good times we played together. Really enjoyed it.
Well, speaking of that, I feel like we have a lot in common. We're both the oldest sibling in our families, and we're also both the second best cricketers in our families. But whilst Brett might have played a bit more international cricket, I think the most important question is, who was better in the backyard?
Well, I was. Clearly, I was the oldest.
Yeah.
Always the way.
Yeah, I would bat first. I think one day I scored 400 and something, and Brett bowled me for about 6 hours. But our poor youngest brother, Grant, who was nicknamed Dudley, he had the field. So Grant retired at 18. He had a gut full of fielding.
Fair enough, yeah.
But we had a really, it's funny, a guy wrote a book a few years ago talking about what was your backyard like when you grew up, and did that affect the way that you played your cricket? And they talked to a lot of different international players, and it really did. So we had a really, really long driveway, which meant when Brett could bowl off a long run-up, you could only hit the ball straight because it was a narrow driveway. You couldn't cut, so I didn't really cut the ball much when I played. I hit the ball straight. There was a big area free on the leg side, so I used to play off my pads quite a bit. So I think that's really affected the way I played, later in life. But it was good fun. It was super competitive too, which was good.
Definitely. Can you just elaborate on the nickname Dudley for us, please?
Dud, yeah. Well, I think we were sort of saying he wasn't that good. Grant was a really good cricketer. He played for New South Wales 17s and 19s, and he went on to be an accountant, mate. So maybe scoring. Maybe he was scoring.
Got stuck as a scorer.
We'll crack on to the next question. So, the listeners who listen to the Don't Bowl There podcast, when we made them aware that you were going to be our guest, one of them got in contact with me and asked specifically if they could ask you a question.
Sure.
What was it like being the second best all-rounder in the under-19s team?
That is definitely that's a question from probably a guy called Shane Hadley. I played with your old man. He was a good cricketer. He probably was maybe potentially better than me the first year, but he is older than me by a year. But we had some good times playing there. But that sort of team that we played in, we had Adam Gilchrist and Kevin Roberts, who now runs Cricket Australia, was playing in that team, I think. We have quite a few guys that kicked on to play for New South Wales and Victoria as well. So yeah, it's a very, very talented sort of bunch of guys coming through at that time.
Yeah, because I remember he caught up with Gavin Robertson once, and with a few of his other mates, and and when Robbo was talking to some family friends of ours, they'll go, "Oh, so how do you know Shane?" He goes, "Oh, we played first grade together, played New South Wales under 19s together." And Gav Robertson made the remark of at one point. Shane was one of the quickest bowlers going around first grade. And when Dad heard about it, he called me up instantly and just goes, "Yeah, I bowled wheels." So I reckon he was pretty happy with that one.
Well, he did bowl quite quick, but unfortunately Adam Gilchrist was standing up to the stumps to him. So he got about 15 leg side stumpings on him. Maybe mention that one to him as well.
All right, I'll run it by him.
That's awesome.
Did you ever play in India, Shane?
Yeah, I did, mate. I've been to India probably both for cricket and for work probably 50 times or more.
Yeah, what's it like over there? What's the experience like?
Mate, it's an amazing place. It's suffocating. They know more about your career than you know yourself. They love it. They're passionate about it. It's almost like it's a weird sensation. Like I don't know what it would have been like to be in the Beatles, but the men over there scream like teenage girls. But with cricketers, it's really bizarre. But it's hot. The ball doesn't bounce as much. You know, sometimes you can't even shine the ball because you're that soaked to the bloody sweat and that's humid, and it's really, really tough conditions. And the crowd's so noisy. You know, whenever Sachin walks out the bat, it's almost deafening. And I had some good times there, but some tough times too. I think I played one game there in India. I bowled 3 overs, none for 30 against Sachin, and did play for 2 years after that. So that was a bit of a bummer.
We started a band, as you mentioned before, called Six and Out. How'd that start? And what are the chances of you recording a song for the start of our podcast?
Well, we can potentially do that. We'll talk to the boys. It all started to Gavin Robertson, who's our drummer. Robbo's actually a really good drummer. He did a bit of drumming with the sort of for the Angels here and there.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he played for years.
Get them on.
Yeah. So he's a proper drummer. So he'd be just drumming in the change room. I learned guitar when I was about 23.
Yeah.
So then we needed a singer, so we said to Brett, "You learn the bass now, we need a bass player." And then I taught Brett McNamara some guitar, and we went from there, and we just started off playing it. It was a Cricket New South Wales function, the Doug Walters function. We played our first gig there, we played one song.
Yeah.
And in the crowd was a guy called Garth Porter, who was in the band Sherbet with Daryl Braithwaite. He saw us, and he said, "Guys, you should come in the studio and rehearse a bit, and we should potentially see if we can put an album together."
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Wow.
And we thought that's not going to happen, and it did. Yeah, we ended up getting signed by EMI Records and recorded 2 albums. So it was great fun, and we toured around Australia. We probably played, I reckon, now 500 plus gigs over the years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we started off with a pretty shit house, I reckon, but I think we're a decent pub band now.
Yeah.
It's good fun.
So what song did you play at the function?
The first song was it was "Lean on Me."
Oh yeah, great.
Classic.
Yeah.
Can't go
Nice
wrong.
and slow, 3 chords. That was easy. But
Yeah.
But yeah, we went on there. We ended up writing a few songs ourselves about. We wrote a song called "Can't Bowl, Can't Throw" about
That's right.
Scott Muller and the Warney blow up. Yeah, and a few other things. It was really, really good times, but an interesting sort of feeling. Like the whole difference between sport and music is quite different. Like with sport, to be really good at a top level, you've got to be almost unemotional. And by that I mean you've got to be able to do what you do really well day in, day out, and not be affected by the game situation or the crowd or what you read in the paper. Mm-hmm. But with music, you've got to be it's totally emotional. You've got to put everything out there. So it's sort of it really changes the way that you sort of behave and how you respond, which I think that was a sort of the attraction for us to be sort of the Jekyll and Hyde sort of characters, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely.
Who's
Awesome.
Me. Okay. Yeah. So, moving on to maybe something that get a few laughs. Got any good circuit stories that you'd want to share?
Well, there's funny story. I remember one when I was in. I think it was might have been the '96 World Cup. So I was a young single guy, and Warnie was single on tour, and he'd always said that we were let out the opening ceremony to buy an Indian model. Each player had an Indian model that would lead them out, and Warnie said that he'd give me the best one. If I was the best one, he said, "Go to the Shane show." And sure enough, he found two. We met him for a drink, and we went back to their place. Thought it's going to be a good night. And when we got back there, they had their whole extended family there, and we ended up signing bloody autographs all night and having dinner with their family. So didn't quite pan out the way that we were hoping. Anyway, the next night was better.
What about, by any chance, any good circuit stories with one Shane Hadley?
Well, yeah, man, no, we had a good time together. We were, well, back then we were a bit sort of, yeah, a bit green around the gills, and we were sort of having a good time, but we had a few beers. But yeah, the funny thing with that whole thing is that after you retire from sport, and the statistics don't really matter. Yeah, you remember the 100 here and there, but what it really comes down to is those sort of bonds and that you forged during your career and mates. And your dad Shane is, we were playing together when we were sort of 17, 18, 19, and still mates today. So it's a really special thing. That's the beautiful thing about sport. And maybe we'll share a couple of stories one day with you, but maybe not on air.
Fair enough.
That's all right. Well, Shane, we thanks heaps for you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us. So we'll probably finish on this question here.
Yep.
For any young boys and girls who are listening to the podcast at the moment, what sort of advice would you give to them if they wanted to pursue a sport, a career in either sport or music or anything of artistic value?
I think just do it. Just do it. Just get in there. Be passionate about it. Like the old saying, find a passion or find a hobby, make it your passion, and you'll never work another day in your life. And that's truly the thing. Just get there and do it. There's no shortcuts in life. Unfortunately, trust me, I've looked for every shortcut you can find. They don't exist. It comes down to hard work, dedication. The one thing you got to do is, that's why I love team sports. You can't only let yourself down. You can't let your teammates down. Yeah. So you've got to hang in there. And the best thing is that what happened yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's another day. So don't worry. Don't dwell on the past, and just really enjoy it. Don't take yourself too seriously. It's only a bloody game. We're talking about things before with about men's health, and Paul Gavin Robertson with his brain cancer at the moment. Life's too short, so get there and enjoy it. Have a good time.
Yeah, really good advice
that's
for
awesome.
our listeners. As Aaron said, really appreciate you giving up your time for us today, Shane. Really appreciate it.
Well done, boys. Keep it going and enjoy it, and keep going. And I'll be following now. I'll be subscribing and checking in to see how you boys are going on future shows.
That's awesome. Yeah, we thank you. We love talking to you. Really good
Absolutely.
fun.
That was awesome.
Take care, boys.
All right, thanks, Shane.
Thanks, Shane. Take care, mate. That was good.
Boom. Jeez, how good was that?
Brilliant.
Yeah, we really thank Shane Lee again for giving up his time and chatting to us. I really enjoyed it. I thought he was a funny guy. And again, thanks
awesome.
to Shane Hadley for hooking us up with him as well. Really appreciate his input for that. Yeah, good on. Even though
appreciate that one.
Bold
Gilly
wheels,
did
apparently.
keep up to the stumps too, but
Bold wheels, but the keeper kept up.
Yeah.
Who's telling a lie?
But no, really thanks Shane Lee again for giving up his time and chatting to us. Really appreciate it. Also, last week or the week before, we spoke to Gus Warland and his foundation Gotcha for Life, and we said we'd try our best to get involved. And recently we've been thinking of different ideas, and we've decided in a couple of months we're going to do a 24-hour bike ride around the Bay Run. So at least one of us are going to be on the bike at all times going around. We're thinking maybe 2 hours on, 4 hours off or so, something along those lines.
Yeah.
To raise money for Gotcha for Life and mental health and all that sort of stuff. So we'll be putting a page out in the coming weeks or months to get some donations if you guys are keen to help us out. And raise awareness pretty much for mental health and Gotcha for Life. It's a pretty important initiative, so we just want to do our best to help it out.
I think it's going to be really good fun.
I'm really looking
We're going to be
forward
dead,
to it.
but
my legs are going to be cooked afterwards, but it's all for a good cause.
Yeah,
So.
exactly.
I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, it'll be good fun. We're
Awesome.
gonna get our Lycra suits on and we're gonna
for
try
sure.
our best. Yeah,
For sure.
It'll be good fun.
Absolutely. So, as Braden elaborated on, any way that you can get involved and support the boys and
Even if
support the foundation.
Even if it's just a message of support,
or you
we'd
just
appreciate that
just
as well.
want to, put up on your Facebook or Instagram just to show us the support.
Any sort of support that you guys can give us would be really, really good. And we thank everyone for all the support that we get the podcast already and to listening. And we'll be back to announce Hall of Fame and best of back to our normal routine next week, lads. So should be good
Looking
fun.
forward to it. Yeah, a few other big names hopefully coming up as well.
Absolutely.
So, a couple of big sportsmen and hopefully maybe reality TV stuff.
Yeah.
See how we go.
Yeah.
We'll see how we go. Yeah.
I just want to put in there, we're sorry that we couldn't get any video for the interview this week. Just unfortunately, the Zooms just couldn't quite get it working properly. So unfortunately, we just had to go with the audio only. But it's still just as good. You just won't be able to see our beautiful faces. So
or our Hawaiian shirts.
Or our Hawaiian shirts. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing that you couldn't see us, who knows? We'll leave that up to you guys to decide that.
Very good. So, lads, see you next week.
See you
next week.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't bowl there.
That's it.
Don't bowl there.
Thanks, guys.